Hey, you guys, we are back in action. Louise and Shuey's with my main man, Mr. Eaglehuff. Dwight, how are you, pal?
Oh, I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm good, thank you. Thoroughly enjoying this World Cup. It's definitely been one of the best we've had. So, no, it's been good.
Been good, mate. Obviously, recording Sunday night, Australia, New Zealand time, 8th. So we've still got a couple of games, but what we thought we'd do is just get ahead of the curve so our thoughts from the pool stages could get out there in the open, albeit I think the one main game that sort of hangs overhead, which could have the biggest implication, is the Argentina-Japan game. So maybe what we'll do, just to give everyone a bit of insight, is we will discuss each pool, discuss maybe key talking points, a sort of a brief overview on some of the key games within that, and a quick preview of what we think are the up and coming quarterfinals. So while we are still waiting for the outcome of Pool D, that is England, Argentina, Japan, Samoa, and Chile. Dwight, your initial thoughts, mate?
It's been a bit of a disappointing pool overall, if I'm honest. Argentina had quite high hopes on. They've been terrible. Just really struggling to understand what their identity is and how they're trying to play. And with that, England, I mean, have surprised everyone in terms of they've played to their strengths. It hasn't been exciting, it hasn't been attractive, but it's got the results. So, other than that, we'll see. I'm hoping Japan probably gets up over Argentina, but Czechia will be prepared for this. But for me, it's going to be really interesting, just the different coaching styles of Argentina versus Japan. The Jamie Joseph
free flowing Japanese rugby versus a bit more traditional RG forward dominated rugby should be a tussle.
Yeah, and then I mean the team I was quite hopeful in this one was the good old Manu, Samoa. I think they've just been incredibly hard done by. They've had a few refereeing decisions and things that have probably just killed their momentum at tough times. Their discipline's been their own downfall. But I just also felt at key times they didn't get the rugby of the green. But also their performance, you've seen, when they spend some time together, how much better these teams get. And you can see that. So, I mean, there is, big talk about that they do need to spend more time together playing more rugby on the international stage.
I think that probably goes for all the Pacific Island teams, right? I mean, the guys, obviously, typically, if you're any good, if you don't play for New Zealand, you're out in Europe earning a good wage to send back home. And these guys have typically got very limited time. So it's great to see some of the guys that may have got a game or two for other nations come back to their home nation effectively for the most part. However, you can see, other than Fiji, I think the same could be said for Tonga, where they look really underdone as far as just their continuity. I mean, their best game was against the Box.
They were really good against them, actually.
They look great, but that's probably because it's the third game now, and they're probably starting to get into stride. But obviously, it's sort of too late down the line.
Yep, that's exactly it. So it'll be interesting. And I mean, you've kind of seen the difference with some of the other smaller teams and that do just play a bit more. They've been a lot more cohesive in their attack. And, they were you talking even the likes of, in this group, you've had Chile. But, Portugal's probably been one of the surprise teams in terms of the quality of rugby they've played. But they spend a lot of time together. So, no, it's going to be interesting. But, yeah, all in all, I mean, Pool D had a few higher hopes and expectations. The game obviously decides this one on the weekend.
But so who you're calling tonight's game on then, when we're probably going to be fast asleep and watch it first thing in the morning? Japan, Argentina. For me,
I just need to go and look what my Super Brew is. No, I'm pretty sure. I think I put Japan.
Really?
I mean, I think Argentina, if they are emotional and they switch on and they're there, they'll get over the line.
Yes,
and the head says that, but the heart says, I love a bit of Tony Brown attack. They're going to come up with something inventive and different. And if Argentina don't respond quick enough, you'll definitely see Japan get through, and ultimately that'll probably be quite good. I mean, it'll be very disappointing for Argentina, but that'll be good to see them through there.
Yeah,
but I mean, listen, it's as we spoke earlier, it's key to know, because that you're going to play a quarterfinal, and then anything happens after that.
Yeah, well, but I think if we're looking at key games within that, the first game is probably going to be the one that most people G'd up about. I think both of us had probably England actually not making out of this group. Yeah. And so what we'll do for the next episode is definitely get those shoeies in as far as our punishment, should we say? Yeah. But I just thought in that game with Tom Curry, I thought obviously being harshly treated, should I say, for the red. Again, it's just laws are laws, but common sense for me. I didn't think it was a red. However, to be playing for 70 minutes and get beat, I think two things could be true at the same time. England played great and two 14-man rugby and the way obviously Ford drop kicked and orchestrated the game was terrific. Equally, Argentina were abysmal, mate. I mean, they had an extra man up front. Rather than kicking for the line and using that extra man up front, they went tap and goes and knock-ons. I mean, I think they had 17 penalties when you got a man up. It's just like...
It's like they just expected to win because they had an extra man without actually having to take it. That's it. And listen, I thought... I'm a big George Ford fan. I thought that was probably one of the best games he's ever had in an England jersey.
Yeah.
He just took control of the game. He controlled the pace. He controlled the territory. And they deserved the win that day. So, let's see. Listen, and I mean, we spoke about it on the previous pods, that they might just go back to what worked in 07, and they got all the way to the final. They very much look like they might be doing that. I mean, their problem is, though, now they got Farrell back, is really how do they play them together?
Well, that's the talking point. So, look, I thought I didn't probably watch it with... as close eyes as I should have, but I did think Samoa, were just a little bit unlucky today and had quite a few tries down the right wing that were called back. So to your point earlier, that I think they've just not got the rub of the green referee way. However, they played the 10-12 combo with Farrell. So that's interesting, mate.
But they looked very good. So maybe just a bit more balanced with, kind of Ford, Tuilangi and Marchand in that midfield. Yeah, I just thought it was a good balance and let's see what they come up with. But, Fairs is their captain and he's just become the highest point scorer ever, I think, for England, went past Johnny Wilkinson. So he should have been 3 more points ahead, but he took so long to hit that penalty. Arguing with the ref. Right. I also think, like, if you've got a scrum in the middle of the field, actually having that combo is good because you've got two playmakers in Ford and Farrell, possibly either side of a scrum, for instance. But I just think, in typical continuity, it's just you got to have Tuilagi hitting that ball up. So why can't they? Can they ever swap that sort of combination between Tuilagi and Farrell, where Farrell sort of slides down one for specific sort of plays? I'm not sure, but. Anyway, they're not blowing the hinges off the door, albeit they're getting the job done, England. So you've got Japan, albeit I haven't seen the RGs with that typical RG spirit. I can't imagine they're not going to G up for today. So I'll take Argentina to get through. Checker will have them up for this.
He's got it, mate, because I mean they were shocking against England. So you've got Japan. Let's move on. We'll work our way backwards, mate. A little bit unconventional. So we'll go Pool D to Pool C. And sorry, let me just pull up my pools. So we've got Pool C is Wales, the mighty, the fallen Wallabies, the Fijians, flying Fijians, the Georgians, and the Portuguese. I think this has been a great pool, actually, albeit Australia have been shocking. So. Why don't we cover them off very quickly, mate? Eddie came up throwing big words out there when he first signed up for the Wallabies, saying they've got a good chance of going all the way. And then 2 weeks before the World Cup, they've made a massive change in strategy going out with youth, which would make you think, this is a tournament that they're just going to try to earn some experience, which is not what you do at World Cups. And then apparently he's had an interview with Japan in the World build-up. He's told reporters at Sydney Airport to go uppercut themselves. And it was the worst press conference ever, and how negative everyone is. Though.
Well, mate, if we cut into the chase, they weren't negative enough, were they? The truth is that Eddie's got this wrong in terms of he didn't take senior players. His modus operandi has always been to come in, get rid of the senior guys, and then try to build the team and build the youngsters. But when you got young guys, you got to have some confidence, and it's hard to believe there's much confidence in that Australian squad at the moment. Where they've just got things wrong was that they clearly didn't have good leadership on the field and voices. When you're seeing when they knew what to do, they were really good. But it was those in between moments, when the ball's not in play, you could see there just wasn't enough talking, there wasn't enough leadership in what was happening on the field. And you've seen it because their performances have got better as the tournament's gone on. It's similar to the other teams we're talking about that probably just haven't played enough and all those things. So you probably needed some of those senior heads around. But listen, I mean, the one thing it's done is made this the most competitive and pretty entertaining pool. I spoke earlier that Portugal, surprised for everyone with the quality of rugby they've been playing. Yeah, but it's been that kind of a pool. I think, the last one I spoke about Fiji, I said they were going to be good. I still got them as potential semi-finalists, and they've looked the part. That again, really physical team. That's the one thing is this group struggled with the physicality that they brought. I mean, personally, I think they were very, very unlucky against Wales. They probably should have got over the line on that one. Yeah. But man, the one thing is, I think a combination of a couple of refereeing decisions. I've even heard from I guess objective pundits say there was a couple of really big calls in that game. Equally, they probably should still have got the job done. Should have. Credit to Wales for sort of just sticking in the fight. And that's the thing is Wales are the ultimate battlers. They're always they'll battle to the very end, and they did in that game, and it's paid off. So no, it's been a good game, a good pool. Interesting. It's also kind of come back to the last game. I mean, Fiji look a shoo-in, but stranger things have happened, and the Portuguese are going to have to try and make themselves proud. Let's see what happens. But overall, no, been an entertaining pool. Georgia have been also quite good in what they've done. And
they've always been a team that's showed a lot of promise, right? But I think again we'll speak about the struggles of tier two nations at a later date. But it's tough for teams to get markedly bigger unless possibly is investment from the actual country itself, because World Rugby's a bit of a joke from that perspective in terms of growing the game.
The one thing I must give credit to, though, in this pool was, as much as it's just been a bit harsh on Australia, Wales also actually got rid of a lot of their senior players. They still kept a few around, and I think that's the difference. But, man, some of these young guys they brought in have been really good, and you can see they're going to be around in Welsh jerseys for a very long time. I've been fairly impressed with some of them that have come through. But I guess the big risk for them now is, the same, I think we'd spoken about it, is they don't have a lot of depth. It looks like Anscombe's in a bit of trouble, and he's been really good this World Cup, so it'll be a shame.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. I mean, look, sort of reverting back to Eddie and signing off on what's been a shocking World Cup for Australia.
It's pretty simple. I hope he enjoyed the croissants, because that's all they went for.
Jesus, I mean, all that chat before, mate. I just, the reality is, when you do throw bombs, grenades in press conferences, you got to back it up, mate. And obviously, him and Gats have had some tenuous past, so that certainly came back
there's no love
bite him.
there, mate.
Yeah, the best thing he said, the only useful thing he said so far, Eddie, is about sending a credit card to the Fijian camp so the boys can get on the carver before the game. So,
I didn't hear that one, but
yeah, man, it's so funny. But look, I just think his coaching style it reminds me of Mourinho, where Mourinho just got to a point where, ultimately that old school authoritative coaching style of almost that sort of dictatorship piece. The modern day footballer, the modern day rugby player. I mean, rugby probably a little bit less so to football, but at the end of the day, you've got to adapt your style. And these guys, the way they, you listen to a Ghetto, and all these guys, whilst so hugely fond of Eddie Jones, they all used to say, like, we used to shit myself around him, because I was always worried. I just don't think that sort of style of management, coaching, it's like the NFL. You can do that at college level, but you can't do that in the pros. You just get found out because these guys are adults. A lot of them have kids and otherwise, and they don't want to go in and get. And the way he's turned over his staff between, his last couple of years in England to already now at the Wallabies is. Yeah,
it's a problem. Let's be honest. Yeah. Like, that's what it is. And listen, it's hard to sit on the outside and know what the inner workings are like. But there's a few things that are pretty obvious. It is not doing enough on the ground coaching because, I think we spoke about it in the last one. Borthwick spoke. They can't catch, they can't pass, they can't tackle. You're starting to see a bit of that creep in, and with that is also it's just so hard to see exactly how Australia are trying to play.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And it's similar to England. And it's so weird.
Yep. Yeah.
It's so weird when you have that World Cup 2019 game to go from that exciting rugby. Now, the final they lost. They were played exciting rugby, fast, brutal, physical rugby. And then it's been a decline, even in quality as far as that they've been boring to watch in their decline at England. And then again, Australia, like you say, don't look like they've got any kind of philosophy on how do we play.
Yep. And when I say Eddie's just spending too much time on the thinking part of the game, I mean that's not a negative thing, but you have to strike a balance with him. But the one thing he hasn't got credit for, which he probably does deserve, was he said, and this was early in his England tenure, that this World Cup will be decided on utility type players. And, he was one of the first guys looking like he had, Jack Noel, and he was trying to play him on the wing and on the flank and turn him into a utility. Well, jeepers, it's actually been quite true. Like, you've seen it, South Africa's done the 7-1 or 6-2 because you've got guys that can
cover.
Yeah, full scrum halves. France have been doing the same with, I think it's Makayao is his name. He's a flanker, lock, and also covers the wing.
That's it. Yeah.
So he's not always wrong, Eddie, and this is the troublesome part with him. But just need to go back to a bit more basics.
Mate, I want him to work out for him because I want him to work out because he's absolutely gold in press conferences, and I think for Australian rugby to start winning more eyes and get more eyes on the game. You do need someone to actually, be causing a stir in the papers and online and on TV.
And that's the Australian landscape. The Australian landscape's a competitive one, so he gives you a competitive advantage.
So he's great from that point. Yeah. And he is obviously he's extremely knowledgeable, but he's obviously it's been a decline now, and it's 4 years in the making. So I don't see it working out. I hope I'm wrong. But we'll see how that turns out. Finishing up, mate, like you say, I mean, Fiji have been great. I think getting the sort of set piece and the forward sort of structure a bit more down pat over the last few years is definitely paying dividends for them, looking like a much more... I mean, they actually look like they've played more proper test rugby. There's obviously been the glitz and glamour of flying Fijians, but there's also been some... pretty pragmatic structured rugby.
And also when they've got into the red zone, they've been really good, and those big forwards have gone to work. And they're not just big guys; they've got skill set too.
Yeah.
So no, I still like them, and let's see how they get on.
Yeah, and the Porras, like you say, mate, they've been brilliant. I love the captain, handsome bastard, I must say. But he's there like, we're not happy till we walk away with a win. And that bloody try against Australia, where Kellaway just about got about great tackle, remnants of Corabetti against Mapimpi to a degree, albeit not illegal.
Not as explosive.
But I mean, geez, for them to have played such competitive rugby, I mean, that's the beauties and the real signs that what rugby could be across the world. Yep. Mate, I was a bit disappointed with the Scots today, albeit Ireland were brilliant. A bit disappointed.
No, it is. Like, to be fair though, they just didn't let them play. And when they played for, I think it was around the 10 to 15 minute mark, and they were hot on attack, but they just kept going backwards. And I think psychologically they were a bit done. But yeah, coming back to your point, that first try, I think it was 67 seconds or something. Mate, that was off the Leinster training paddock. That is just chalk and cheese for them.
If you can't defend that number 5, the number 5, you could just see the indecision on Ringrose.
And straight away the pass, and straight away
Ringrose you could just see Ringrose. Keep going. Straight through the gap.
I mean, we spoke about them that they play really smart rugby, so they got to back themselves to make better decisions than you, and you saw it in that. But the part that worried me was as soon as it happened, like, I can't remember exactly which Scottish player it was now, but there was a couple. There was just finger pointing.
Was it? Okay, yeah. I thought you were going to allude to the two lads, both Richie, the captain, and Clegg on the number 15, both went off. I was like, Jesus.
No, and then I also said once that happened, it was tickets. And that all happened kind of after that attacking spell, and they just had nowhere to go. So, but listen, mate, Ireland have been the best team in this tournament. There's no two ways about it. They have been exceptional. They deserve their number one. I mean, I think that today's taken them to 18 tests unbeaten.
Is it 17 or 18? Is it? So
I think today went
to
18. Yeah.
What's the record? Is that 18?
20. Nah, 20. I want to say it's 23.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite high.
What, the All Blacks 15?
Yeah, the All Blacks and South Africa had it at a stage. South Africa tied with it under Mallet.
Yeah, but that was 16, I think. I would have thought it had only been a couple more now. Might have to look that up now.
We'll have to look it up.
They're
on.
I think that's a big. Because I think that's a massive point. You've won 17 or 17, 18 in a row, right? You've now still got to win 3 more to win the World Cup. Yeah. So if they do it, Ireland, this is a big one. This has to go down alongside the 2015 All Blacks as possibly the greatest stretch of rugby by a team over a sort of 18-month, 2-year period, because when you consider the competition that they've beaten, New Zealand away from home, the best from the Southern Hemisphere at home, the Six Nations, France obviously, and only a couple of losses over a 2-year period, mate, it's been what would go down as one of the sort of single best periods in rugby history.
Yeah, and that's what it was flagged, like for them to go all the way and to win it, that's what they had to do. Yeah. And I mean, they kind of well on the path to it.
What do you think, mate? Sexton key to that. I mean, for a guy, I mean, he annoys me because I do think he is a whinge bag. However, he's out for 6 months, 38 years old. The brains is going to be there, but the body, I mean, and he stood up to a couple of, it looked like he might be carting off against South Africa in the first half, and I think he ended up with making the most tackles in the game.
And he stuck to it,
anyway.
and listen, mate, good team's gun for him.
Give credit.
Damien
exactly,
Delandu went for him.
Today
Tupelotu he was looking for him. He caught the ball and he looked for him.
Yeah.
So you got to give it to him. I had a good chuckle though. There was a bit of a video out. He was out well before anyone else in the Irish team doing his warm up and having coached some senior players myself, guys that are getting on in years. I tell you, their warm ups nearly as long as the amount of time they spend on the field. So I had a chuckle when I saw that. But no, he's gone really well. He's still looking crisp. He's just playing so flat. I mean, he's got two great halves playing inside of him, but he's been really good. So no, you got to give it to them. But mate, this Irish team have just looked polished. Their defence is brutal. Their attack is razor sharp. They were really good against South Africa. I mean, I didn't think South Africa had their best game, but again, this is what we're saying was the same with Scotland. Good teams don't let you play your best, and they're very good at that.
Well, let's talk about that game, mate. Because I mean, I know your man Fozzie, your best pal, said, "Look at how I do think the ball in play piece is certainly a topic that should be discussed and should be looked to be improved. But you cannot look at that game
and not be incited
and say, I mean, I think Jamie Carragher, tweeted out, I'm not a rugby fan, but watching this is like, he was just saying insane. You can't. I don't think anyone that even doesn't watch rugby that would watch that and not be blown away by the intensity of that game.
100%. Like, the number one kind of golden rule that overarches rugby that you always want for everything, and people are forgetting this, but it needs to be a contest. Yeah. Everything in rugby is a contest. The scrum has to be a contest. The line has to be a contest. The breakdown has to be a contest. That's what I love about it. And that's the joys of it. That's what makes it so unique. And that game really was a contest. Like everything, there was no quarter given, no quarter shared, and they just went at it, which is what we like. Coming back to Ian Foster, I've, got to be careful what I say. I still live here. The Kiwis have really been irking me with how they believe the game should be played, and I don't agree with their view per se. But I agree with what they're upset about, which is ball in play and scrum penalties.
Yeah.
And the number one ref for the lowest ball in play time and the most scrum penalties is Ben O'Keefe, who's the best Kiwi referee. And he refereed that game.
Yeah.
So maybe New Zealand Rugby needs to pick up the mirror and decide what's important and how we want to play and reflect it in all of our things, including our referees.
Yeah.
So
I thought the breakdown was refereed brilliant in the game. I mean, let's look at South Africa, mate. Obviously, our team. Interesting. The big talk was the 7-1 split, albeit I think both me and you were sending across a couple of crying emojis when big Malcolm Marx. Unfortunately, the news came through that he had out of the World Cup. So. I dare say, along with Etzebeth, and maybe only Etzebeth, really, he might actually be the most vital member of the Springbok team. Just given,
to be fair, he probably was, just in terms of the squad we've chosen.
Yeah,
like we've lost Mapimpi. I'm pretty upset about that. I like him. I think he brings a lot to this team. But we've got cover.
We've got the depth. Yeah.
At lock, we've already lost Luert. But we've still got some pretty good world-class locks in there. Yeah. So don't get me wrong, don't want to lose Evan. We even played a couple games without him already, but it wasn't bad. But just with the amount of hookers we had selected, and it's been a bit of a problem area for us for a while. Losing him was huge. And I mean, it's not just that losing him. I can tell you he puts fear in other teams.
Look, I think Sheehan's probably more dynamic of a runner. He's sort of probably got quicker feet, but Mark's for me is number one in the world. He's just class, and as you said, we lack the depth. When you've got Bongia, him starting, I'm happy either way. I'd prefer Marks to start and get probably those extra 10 minutes. However, and what he can do over that, especially at the breakdown. But when you just got Bongi now and then, it's a big, it's possibly a big slide off from third or fourth choice options. Well, third and fourth choice options are flankers, as you said, utilities going back to Eddie Jones. Worrying, mate. But I think the strange thing for me was obviously there's a big write up on Manie Libbok's kicking. You then have a 7-1 split. They actually played a lot of rugby, South Africa, down the back line, which is not how they played against New Zealand. They played really 3-4 phases punching it up with the forwards before they went wide. And then second to that, you've got penalties and you're not kicking for the line when you've got another whole forward pack coming on that can just absolutely rub salt in the wounds. You're giving the opposition a break off the physicality of of the point of the 7-1 split. You know what I mean? So why are you giving the opposition the couple of minutes breathing space of kicking, putting pressure on Marnie when the kicks aren't necessarily easy kicks, and not going for the line? I really couldn't understand. I think for me, the biggest concern from that game is the decision making, basically, and it sounds like it might be coming from obviously up above with the old traffic light system, mate.
Well, that's what I was about to say, and you're going down the slippery slope that leads into a rabbit hole that goes to the conspiracy theorists here. But the way I see it is, Rusty and Jacques are master tacticians. They had always said, similar to Eddie Jones, you need to play two different styles of rugby at a World Cup. You need to play an expensive, high point scoring game early in the tournament because you need the points, but also it's going to be hot, the weather's going to be different, blah, blah, fish post. That's been very true because points difference has actually become quite important, especially in this pool.
Especially our pool, yeah.
So that they've done that. The second thing was, I'd really had thought about it because I was like, man, I'm struggling to understand what's going on here. I think they went with the 7-1 split to prove to themselves that they can keep running the 6-2 split but have a specialist. You know, the whole point of the 6-2 split was you either had a Frans Steyn or a Willemse or one of these players who was sit on the bench and cover multiple positions. Yeah. But when Frans Steyn got ruled out and Damien Willemse has essentially been their first choice 15, it starts making it a bit tricky. I mean, you know, as other people, Willie Leroux is, he's the assist king, but he makes a lot of unforced skills error for me. Yeah. So when I'm looking at it, I wondered why, if they were saying, well, let's take one utility and one specialist, and that specialist I think might actually be Handré Pollard on the bench. If they don't start him, then, you know, the Marnie will be on the bench, which for me makes a lot more sense. I think you'd start Pollard, you keep everything tight, you take your points when they're on offer, and then when you bring on the bomb squad and all these extra guys, then you can actually start moving the ball. The game opens up a bit. The likelihood the game's going to open up in the last 20, right? I'm happy with either of who they start. I still don't know if Pollard's had enough game time. But if you're starting Marnie, then don't put him under pressure early on. We'll put it this way. My whole point, though, is with Marnie is not his goal kicking. I'm kind of with the coaches on that, but my biggest problem with him is his defence. It's just too small. And like we're going against France, you know, they got a 115 kilo centre in Dante there. Yeah, he's going to go. I mean, like as I said on the group chat, you got Sir Khaleesi, Visser, and Peter Steph du Toit. Moni Lebok, I think he's 83 kilos. You know, Delende, Creole. It's pretty obvious where you're going. Yeah,
I know, absolutely. Like you say, around Sexton, right? So A's going to have to front up. B, I think the back row are going to have to try and break out of plays, especially when France have a line out or the like, and really try to come in the system.
Coming back to this pool though, it's been an incredibly good one. I think Tonga have got their feel for Romania, but it has been by far the best pool from a competitive standpoint and quality of rugby. I think out of all of them, it's just been really good.
It seems like Scotland, unfortunately, from what I've heard and the like from their under 20s and the like, apparently they've been beaten by tier 2 nations at that age. I just feel that this might have been the greatest or one of the best Scottish teams we'll ever see, and they won't even make it out of the group stage again. So, look, it is what it is. You're either good enough or you're not. But disappointing, I guess, for the mighty Scots. And we'll cruise through, mate, to Pool A and finish with the first pool. That being, obviously, the French, New Zealand, Italy, Uruguay and Namibia. I think we can. We spoke off air. I think Uruguay have held their own, but otherwise, Italy, Uruguay, and Namibia have just again been whooping dogs for the first two boys.
Really, really weak.
Really disappointing.
I think France and New Zealand are actually a bit underdone.
Yeah.
They haven't been tested in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And that's so when you look at it, and that's what we were just talking in Pool B. Well, those guys have been tested. Whereas here it just hasn't happened. Fully echo your thoughts. I'd high hopes for Italy. They've been playing some really, really good rugby.
And we've got some really good individuals, but it's just. What do you think? There's just.
There definitely seems to be some kind of something simmering in back office stuff that's bled onto the field there. You could just see the culture's not right.
Kieran Crowley just does not look here, and he's
apparently had a blow at all the bosses after today because now he's done. So I haven't read it yet, but I'll have a look at it. But they're just not there, and I found it quite strange. They roped in a few of these kind of like there's a few guys that came out of England and Wasps and stuff that were never on the Italian radar, and suddenly now they're at the World Cup. And I did at the time think maybe, but you thought maybe they got a bigger plan, and they're playing some exciting rugby, so maybe they want a different skill set or a different type of player. But it just hasn't proven to be the case, and they've just been incredibly poor.
The squad, yeah.
So, which is a shame because they've played some great rugby and they got exciting players. So, so they were there. Uruguay have held their own.
I think Uruguay are like a Portugal. Certainly again one of the teams at World Rugby. I mean, if you got imagine having two decent teams coming out of South America. Where's the World Cup after Australia's in America, and we're not seeing Canada or America at this World Cup. So again, World Rugby have a lot to do, but I think Uruguay could be
there
a future contender. We want to see competitive teams. That's all we want to see.
We do, and also we want to see them in big population bases. That's rugby's biggest problem is where the countries where it's the number one sport is those small populations.
Yeah.
So South America is obviously very populated, but also they've got the kind of the psyche, the national psyche that makes good, exciting rugby, and you want that.
It's big stakes. They've got some big stakes down there as well.
Big stakes, but they've got good footwork because they play football.
Yeah, breed big men.
Yeah.
I think the point that you raised earlier, mate, is 100% true. I know I've heard Justin Marshall. Probably he probably can't say it enough that his big concern is the quality of opposition they've played. So it's now been France nearly 5 weeks ago come quarterfinal, and they haven't really had a decent sort of test, and so
not even just a decent test. The All Blacks' biggest problem, and it's got worse as the World Cup's gone on, as far as I'm concerned. You ask Ian Foster to write down his starting 15, who's his best 15.
Yeah.
And then add a 23 on top of that, he can't tell you. Everyone's saying Damien McKenzie needs to play. Bowden Barrett's been awful. Who starts as your loose forwards? Because I think we spoke about this previously. Inconvenient truth for the All Blacks. They look best when Sam Cane wasn't playing.
Yeah. And again, I just think...
and their discipline's been shocking. That's the one thing.
Yeah,
so, a few things I've noticed out of this whole thing, just looking at it, the All Blacks can still switch it on. I think they have a good chance to knock Ireland over, and the only reason I say that is because of Joe Schmidt.
Yeah.
He knows them. The All Blacks were working on this really interesting play leading into this World Cup of where they quickly change direction. So they'll be looking like they're going to attack one way with the threes, that literally the pot of forwards, and at the last minute they change their shape and they go the other way. Scotland tried to run it this morning against Ireland, and they went back to Van der Merwe's side, sorry. But the passing wasn't accurate and they covered it quickly. I'm wondering if that's going to come back, and we'll see. But the Kiwis' biggest problem has just been their lack of discipline, and if that's sticking to the game plan or just basic discipline, I mean, they've still been getting cards, all sorts of things. But the one thing I can say is I knew France would be good. But even with the injuries they've had, with everything that could have thrown them off, we spoke about that French blood, and the wheels can fall off the wagon pretty quickly. They've stuck to the task, but man, they have also been good. Like the way they're using their forwards to just keep constantly shifting the point of, the direction of attack.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, the backs all just jump in somewhere. They're very good at overloading the short side, which the Springboks can struggle with because they can, it could nullify that. But also their defence has been superb. We spoke about Sean Edwards last time. They don't bring much line speed. They're a very passive defence, which is quite rare in the modern game at the moment.
Yeah.
But their line integrity, their tackle completion rates, and then their willing and willingness to tack the breakdown is superb. So they've been really good. I've been really impressed with them, despite losing the man who we all thought was invincible.
Yeah, well, I was hoping that hit was a little bit harder than what it's turned out to be. So I'm pretty much certain he's going to be playing against or suiting up against the Box.
He will, and I can tell you, it'll be tested with strong shoulders.
Yes, absolutely, mate, as it should be. The thing is with France, mate, I must say, they have been more than solid. Solid's probably not giving them enough credit, but I think people have a tendency of thinking, it's often about perceptions, right? But they do kick the ball as much as any other team out there. And I don't think we've seen a huge amount of continuity between your Dunties and Fickows and so on. So what you're looking for is that broken play and then a bit of genius from Pinot or someone like out on the wing. There hasn't really been that 3-4 phases of brilliant backline rugby that we're used to seeing from that French flair. It's been very good up front, brilliant kicking. When you think about, I think New Zealand had 65% of the possession in that first game, and yet the territory...
that was all in the wrong part of the pitch. And that's what I was about to say.
And so it's just smart, but it's not your typical... And again, people often have that narrative, again, the Box are boring, but... those fundamentals of kicking a lot and really forward-dominated rugby, and then just getting those loose ends, that's where I think France have obviously really been able to hit their straps.
You're spot on. You've nailed it there. Bernard Jackman did quite a bit on talking about how much they're kicking and it shaped everything. But the one thing no one's spoken about is both France and Ireland is also the distance in their kicking.
Yeah.
Their kicking game, those boys punt that ball a mile.
Yeah.
In saying it all though, because obviously the four teams I've been watching the most, because I still believe this is where the winner comes from, is the two in this pool and the two in the South Africa and in Ireland. I've been trying to see, where's the weaknesses, where's the opportunities. It's going to be interesting. I think the one thing we haven't seen from the All Blacks as much, but again, as we've said, it's been really loose for them, and they've been winning 90 points, and Fozzie's been getting excited about ball and playtime. But when they beat the Springboks this year, their contestable kicking was really good.
They turned the tables on us, didn't they?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if they go back to a bit of that.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting because South Africa did beat Ireland in the air. Mac Hansen, we spoke about him. It's not the biggest character.
I think Keenan's quality under the high ball, but maybe when they target the two wingers.
But against the likes of Pinot and stuff, he's looking like he can fly at the moment. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But where it's really going to be interesting for me with South Africa is where I think the All Blacks must have beat. France are really good at keeping their all the forwards lock up the middle of the field between the 15s, and they keep their outsides on the edge on defence. On a long and contested kicking battle, there can be space in there, and that's where you're going to bring in the likes of a Cheslin Colby or Orenser or one of those. The All Blacks just didn't, and it really surprised me because that's usually when they're at their best. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Springboks take advantage of that. The other thing is the little bits of France that I've managed to see, because the one thing that has been a shame with this World Cup is the camera angles and replays have been diabolical. We haven't seen too much of actually how the field's set up in the plays.
Yeah.
France definitely seem to leave some space if you kick well. And the one thing I thought we would see in this World Cup that we haven't seen at all is kind of set plays or trick plays for 50-22s. Leinster started bringing some into their game, and if I know the Springboks, they'll also bring something in. But like you'll set up, look like you're going to go this way, and suddenly you'd put a kick to the other side, and look for the 50-22s.
Yeah,
we haven't seen any yet. I wonder if that's going to come.
Yeah, good point. And I think just for anyone listening, obviously, I think when you said about French's the distance on their kicks, I mean, you think about why Dupont is so good. I mean, he can kick off both feet. I mean, the way he was sort of taking the ball off the side of the ruck, it's almost like in football where you barely lift your leg and you still get power. He doesn't even look like he lifts his leg. It's not like he's got this big wind up and kicks it.
Yep.
It just looks like he literally, as he lifts it off the ground, and it's just 60-metre bombs, mate. It's unbelievable. And he can kick off both feet. So it's another reason as to why he's the sort of best player going, mate. The one thing I would say is, though, he didn't look brilliant against the All Blacks, and I dare say Aaron Smith even looked like he was chewing his ankles. So what does that mean for the white Staffy, the blonde-headed Staffy in Faf de Klerk? That'd be a brilliant tussle, mate, wouldn't it?
It will be, and it's going to be, and he'll be the one that...
Faf's going to have to be absolutely on it.
But he's got BMT. In saying that, I've been thoroughly impressed by Kobus Reinach. I think his kicking has been world class. So listen, I'm glad I'm not one of the coaches or the selectors. The other thing is Reinach has the ability to understand French. Don't underestimate that. I mean, there's a few of them, but he'll be right in there. So no, it'll be interesting. Let's see how they go. Just coming back to that point, though, what I wanted to also just touch on is the secret to French of being good is their kicking game in the pack. Remember, if you've got a good forward pack, you need to keep them going forward, and that's where the kicking's important.
Yeah.
If the Springboks can turn that pack and keep them working, and then bring on their reserves, their fresh legs, and you get one or two moments of brilliance from Colby going through those middle after a bit of a kicking tennis.
Yeah.
The Boks can get it done. The one thing, though, and this is just what we've spoken about, it has been my worry the whole time, but the Boks have known it. My mate was at the game against Ireland. He said it would have prepared them. That home crowd is going to be something else.
Yeah,
you don't want the referee having to be making calls because they've got to go against you.
We want to. Well, what do you reckon? You want to get into lead, right? I think. I think the Boks always want to be play in front as usual, but you don't want the crowd to be pumping on their side. The ref maybe you're going to get the 50-50 from them, and you're 10 points behind in the first half. So the
you
Boks
got
will definitely
15
want to
to 20 minutes to take the crowd out of it, and then keep turning them, keep working them, and stay in front and fight, boy, because that's what it's going to take.
Well, let's go into it, mate. We've I think given a fairly decent summary there. We're now putting shoeies where our mouths are, albeit we haven't backed up today because we're both feeling a little bit worse for wear. Exactly. So we've got in quarterfinals, we've got the big one, or the two big ones, France, South Africa. Who are you going for?
Mate, I mean, we spoke about this before we hit record, and I mean, like, the thing that just kills me with this draw is literally this week you've got the host nation, the defending champions, the number one team in the world, and the All Blacks, which are the two of them are going home. Yeah, and it's tough to call. I think France will have the better of the Springboks. I said it before. We've got to be consistent. They've got a pack that can nullify our pack, and they've just looked really good.
I think without Malcolm Marx, mate, I just think we're a little bit weak. And what I want to do is lower expectations for the emotional roller coaster. Okay, so we're both going France, Ireland, New Zealand.
It's a tough one, but I think if there's any team that can beat this Irish team, it is the All Blacks with Joe Schmidt. but I just haven't seen enough. I don't think they've been tested. I think they're going to be hit with something they haven't yet seen, because the Irish have been physical, and I think Ireland win it.
Okay, so we're both in agreement, mate. I do think that stat of, obviously, when it comes to 18, eventually you have a bad game and it's going to be against a good team, or a game that you're not, as good. Just the statistics in, since the rugby turned professional is you're basically in world record territory of most games in a row. So, look, if they win all three, then kudos. They should definitely win it. Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. But yeah, it's going to be slippery. I just, as you said, I haven't seen enough from the All Blacks. If you're making Shannon Frizzell sound like he's Richie McCaw or Jerome Kano, as far as your desperation to get him into the team, he's nowhere near that. So I understand he wants physicality, but yeah, for the love of God. So yeah, I just haven't seen enough, mate. If we're putting England and Fiji in the same draw, is that right?
No, we are.
Hold on. Yes, we are. Okay.
No, we are. That'll be the one quarter.
Yeah.
I'm going to go big, and I should have put money on it in the beginning because I've been telling everyone about it. But I'm going to go Fiji.
Mate,
they beat them just before the World Cup.
Yeah, it's just turning out to be very easy. I can see the same. I mean, they literally just stuck past Samoa, Argentina. I thought were atrocious. Albeit they played great on the day. Just not seeing enough where, again, when the game maybe gets away from them, that they're going to be able to come up with enough sort of backline play to open teams up. Yeah, they have to keep it close or be within the game where they can rely on
quarterfinals, or all the finals are arm wrestles though, and they've got the pack, they've got the kicking game. But I just like this Fijian team. I like what they're about.
I mean, it's nothing not to like about it.
Yep.
And then possibly, another real tough one. You've got Wales, Japan. I've got Wales, Argentina. Who are you going with?
Wales, either way, I think.
Okay.
As much as I'd like to see the Argentinians there, I mean, we spoke about them earlier. They just been MIA this World Cup.
Yeah.
And Wales are perennial semi-finalists.
They are.
Gatlin's gone back to basics and they deliver.
I will for a shoey on the line. I will swap mine. I'll go with the Argies, albeit I'm definitely in agreement with you, mate, that I don't think they've come to the party yet. But they've still got time, and there'll be a good game between them two if they knock out Japan tonight. So that concludes it, mate. We'll do another one in the build-up to the semis. It's been an exciting World Cup. It's going to be brutal, some of those couple of quarterfinals in particular. I think, as we said earlier, you've got the Pool A and B's, as you said, top four nations in the world, basically having a semi-final game at quarterfinal stage with the idea, look, if you are knocked out, it's never good, but then the likelihood is you should likely think you've got an easier game, but that doesn't mean that you can't be beaten.
It doesn't. And I think the one thing everyone forgot about with this World Cup, everyone was excited it was going to be quite open. It was going to be very well contested across the board. They just didn't expect their team to lose. Until their teams have lost, I think it's led to a bit of self-reflection. But I think it's been great for the game. I think the crowds have been superb. The French have embraced it all, and
they've been back in the minnows and the Fijians, which is good. I think who was it? They were following. It was one of the Georgian games, and maybe they were following Fiji. I think because they've sort of everyone's second team, and then as soon as Fiji started walloping them, then they went, "Oh, we'll support Georgia," and then Georgia came back into it. Good to see. That you've got
that's exactly it.
Boys being shouted for.
Yep. No. So it's been great for that. So hopefully it continues. And I think the one thing that I have been quite excited about, and again comes with that dose of humility I said earlier about All Black supporters. But other than probably England, everyone's actually played really positive rugby. And it's good to see. Yes, that's what you see in pool stages and then knockouts. We go to the arm wrestle stuff.
Yeah.
That's anyone who's played any knockout competition knows that's how it works. But it's been really good to see the Portugals and Fijis and everyone just using the ball, playing with some attacking prowess.
And it's been tough, mate, because some of the games at the start, in particular, were 30, 35 degree heat, right? So brutal, brutal stuff. So I think that made it a little bit tricky. But anyway, mate, that wraps it up. Cheers for joining me, mate, and we'll see you for semi-finals.